control the vertical.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthology. We're your host Mark, and today I'm joined by Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
Right, so we are back on the Night Gallery. This is season 2, episode 3. There are 3 stories, one very short and 2 longer. So you're sticking with it. You weren't
So
that
far.
convinced, were you?
No.
On the last episode. No, I thought there was at least one good. Well, there was one good one in the last one. Maybe not the rest though. So this one had 3 stories. Since Aunt Ada came to stay as the first, the very short one is With Apologies to Mr. Hyde, and the third one was The Flip Side of Satan. Okay, let's talk about them story by story. It's probably the easiest way to do this. Since Aunt Ada came to stay, which is by far the longest segment.
Yeah.
Interesting, this one. James Farentino was the main actor in it, and his wife was played by Michelle Lee, who was at the time they made this episode was his real life wife. So that was a real life husband and wife, and it kind of works. They got decent chemistry and so on, and they got Aunt Ada staying with them, played by Jeanette Nolan. And the only other main actor in that was a Professor Porteous, played by Jonathan Harris, most famous for playing Mr. Smith in Lost in Space, the guy that was leading him down the wrong track.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think of this segment?
This segment was quite good. It's just there's a lot of it was just like nobody. In the really good episodes, the villain wins by outwitting the protagonists.
Yeah.
In this, she just sort of won. Like there was
just
no
sort of by
outwitting.
timing or whatever. I should mention we'll have spoilers, obviously, right? I have to say, I think this was better than just good. I thought this was really strong one, actually. Very creative. There was quite a lot of weird cinematic tricks going on in this and things that were a little disconcerting. It reminded me of some modern horror films where witchcraft is kind of the sort of order of the day. I think it was ahead of its time, in fact, when it comes to dealing with witches. I kind of liked it. Maybe that's overstating it a little, but I think some of the weird stuff they did, like Aunt Ada sitting in the garden with a weird gauze over her face.
Yeah.
When he went in, and then he turns around and she's not there, and she kind of moves in a weird way, and they sometimes film her backwards.
She can basically teleport off camera.
Yeah.
So.
And she moved in a weird way sometimes, which was obviously filming backwards, but the fact they went to that trouble is quite telling, I thought. And they even had a section where several of her appeared, several old ladies.
Yeah.
And it was very disconcerting. It was kind of quite cool, actually. I quite liked it. And I thought Michelle Lee was okay. She wasn't a great actress, but she was okay. And she was, as a couple, it kind of worked.
Yeah.
And there was this weird thing about every morning she'd pick a green carnation of all things and stick it in his lapel, and he'd go to work, wouldn't he? And he was, interestingly, they made him like a professor of philosophy, didn't we?
Yeah.
Scientific method and rationality. And then he's dealing with this weird witchcraft thing. So there was this first he didn't like Aunt Ada at all, but then she started doing weird stuff. and she was always giving his wife tea, and his wife was kind of getting a bit frail and a bit, bit like ill. And this professor would stop him in the ground, Porteous, and stop him talk about sort of airy fairy stuff, which kind of confused him. But in the end, he turned to the professor, didn't he, to try and get to the bottom of what's going on. He also got this stuff that was in the tea analysed, and it turned out it was seaweed.
Yeah.
Which they called something.
Witch's weed.
Witch's weed or something like that.
Yeah.
Or witch's brew or something. And then it turns out that particular thing is a concoction for a witch to possess the body of a younger person. And he did confront it straight away. He went around digging and he found a cemetery with Aunt Ada in.
Yeah.
So she died 6 months before, so he wasn't convinced that was the real Aunt Ada. And she didn't really deny it, did she? She
just sort of laughed at him as he was doing it.
Yeah, so she kind of felt she had the upper hand over everything. But then Porteous got around to telling him the way to defeat the witches at the moment of trance or close to it. Burning flowers would destroy her power or something like that.
Yeah.
And again, he didn't believe it. But it was one of those things where it built, didn't it? His certainty got weaker and weaker and weaker, and he became more convinced there was something going on, especially when he found Aunt Ada's tomb, gravestone, and there were some weird effects, and I think it was just done well. I just think they put it together really well.
I didn't like that. Basically, he prepared for the outcome. It's like, okay, you come with me to work. You sit in the classroom, and you stay there. I will just do this lecture at midnight for some reason.
Yeah, it was the latest class ever. It turned out by the time the class had finished, it was 11 o'clock at night, which is bizarre.
No, it was midnight. So he ran out midway through because it was getting to midnight. That's right.
So. He did finish the class early. I should have said, I forgot to say at the beginning, this first aired in September 29th, 1971, which makes it 49 years old. So that's something. And it was also based on a short story called The Witch by A.E. Van Vogt. So it was based on something. It wasn't a Rod Serling. He didn't have a hand in this one. In fact, he had nothing to do pretty much apart from the initial voiceover presentation with any of the episodes in this one. It wasn't his baby at all, any of these. It was directed by William Hale, who I think had done some before, and I thought it was quite an effective and well-written little piece. Do you think it was about overlong, or do you think it was about the right length?
I think it was about the right length. I just didn't really think the conclusion was very good.
The conclusion was...
The lead up to the conclusion... Well, the lead up to the conclusion more, because it's just... She gets up in the middle of the classroom and walks out, and that's, It's just... she was aware that maybe Aunt Ada was doing something sketchy, and she'd agreed to stay in, and she just left.
Well, she was.
Okay.
Aunt Ada was controlling her, wasn't she?
Yeah, and then he didn't notice for 20 minutes,
and it was really important to him, and he didn't notice. It was pretty bad. But he does manage to burn the flower just in time, and appears to kill the witch, who was just a pile of dust, I think. In the middle of a storm as well. It was all stormy. Very witchy night that was. But then it's supposed to be a kind of ambiguous ending, but it isn't really. She doesn't pick a flower to stick in his lapel, and we even see a look of disgust on her face when she looks at the flowers, i.e. the witches won. And he notices on the way to work he hasn't been given a flower, but he kind of shrugs it off. So and then it ends, right? So it looks like the witch won. Which is a shame. Anyway, I thought this was a solid episode. Which brings me to any final thoughts on this one?
I wasn't much of a fan of it, and that's about it.
No, I really like this one. Okay, so the next one was a short called With Apologies to Mr. Hyde, directed by Jenna Swark, who has directed some of the episodes we've already discussed. For example, he directed, I think, all of the segments of the last one we watched. And stuff like Death in the Family. Remember that weird one where where the thug takes refuge in an Undertaker's, and the Class of '99, the one with Vincent Price giving the lecture. He directed those, and he directed this one, written by Jack Laird, who was the producer. And I didn't realise this as we were watching it, but Jack Laird was also Igor in this particular episode. And it was Igor and Dr. Jekyll. Dr. Jekyll played by Adam West, hot off the heels of Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think of
this? How to describe this 2-minute interlude? It was a dumb joke. That was it.
It was pretty bad.
Jekyll drinks the concoction. Like, he transforms, spins around to Igor and goes, "I told you, less vermouth." That's the entire joke.
That's it. It was basically an Charles Adams postcard joke turned into a 2-minute drama, right? That was it. Using Adam West. Pretty poor, actually. It wasn't even funny. Again, it was pretty bad. There's the short segments tend to be either really terrible or really good, and mostly they're terrible, and this was one of those for me. But you didn't think it was that bad, right? You thought it was just a bit dumb.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Good to see Adam West, but badly used, really.
Yeah.
Okay. The third segment was called The Flip Side of Satan, directed by Gerald Friedman, and written by two writers, Malcolm Marmerstein and Gerald Sanford. Now, apparently they had a much stronger actor in the frame for this, and I can't remember the guy's name, who it was now. I did read up on it. But this was then directed by Artie Johnson, who's like a comedy actor that was famous in the 60s. I know this actor from a film I really like. Have you ever seen a film called Love at First Bite? It's a Dracula comedy.
No.
Well, he was the Renfield, and he was super funny in that particular film. He'd like be eating everything around, any animal you can find he was trying to eat, and it was kind of funny. But this guy, as a disc jockey, he's playing it straight, right? Basically, he's gone down in the world. He was a disc jockey in a city, and somehow he got put into the graveyard shift of an old radio station where he has to play terrible tracks, and it's his first night, and he thinks, and it develops, and it's a one-man play, isn't it? Really, a short one-man play, where he's stuck in this office. He's a one man playing these terrible tracks, and he's convinced he's being hazed by the other disc jockeys. They're deliberately giving him terrible tracks to play. But it turns out he makes phone calls, and we basically get some reveal of his backstory that's been put here by his agent, and then he realizes his agent might. There's references to the agent's wife killing herself. And then he phones another guy and says, "Yeah, make sure you cover for me that you and I are on fishing weekends." And he kind of makes these. Basically, we find out, it was having an affair with his agent's wife, and then she then killed herself. And he kind of justifies it by saying, "Well, if she hadn't have had me, she'd have done it sooner." So he's a dick, basically. Yeah. And then the tension builds because he doesn't understand what's going on. He keeps trying to play different tracks, but the same tracks keep playing through the speakers. And they're like these weird dirges, aren't they? Like almost funereal sort of strings. What do you think of this?
Like synthy ones.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
Not good. It was a lot of him shouting down a phone, and that was about it. The content that he was describing sounded vaguely interesting. Didn't go into enough of it to make it interesting. I didn't feel invested in any of it.
No, I think this really needs to have a better actor, someone who could actually make you sort of understand the character a bit more, or not understand it, but basically empathise or hate or feel something about this particular character. And it basically goes on, and it's not quite as in hell, but he's cursed. It's kind of thing, right? It's kind of like that. I thought it was going to end up with him being stuck in this place forever, but it didn't quite end up that way. So not a great one either. Guess what this episode got on IMDb? Go on, guess.
What?
Out of 10.
5?
7.4.
Wow.
Which shocked me. I didn't
Yeah.
expect that. I think most of that is for the first one, really.
Yeah, I can believe
can't
that.
see the other two contributing to that score.
No.
Yeah, I will have to say I think the last segment was decently written. I just don't think it was executed. Sorry, I don't think the acting was good enough for it. Do you know what I mean? For it to deliver anything. I thought the direction was okay, and I thought the script was fine, but I thought the acting really didn't help. So I just remember I tried to imagine a decent actor doing this. Even someone like Shatner would have brought this to life. You know what?
Yeah.
Adam West would have been better in this one.
Yeah.
Actually, I would have got it more. You know, it needed someone with a bit more charisma as well.
Yeah.
That would have helped. Yeah. So these three, you're not that hot on.
No.
No, I liked the first one quite a lot. The second one I thought sucked. Third one, I can see the potential, but didn't particularly like it. So that's how I felt it. So not a great episode for us.
Nah.
All right.
And I think I said at the time that this was going to be the make or break episode for me, so I don't think I'll do any more of these.
So you're ducking out Night Gallery, so I'll be soloing it, which is fine.
Yeah.
Fine. I appreciated you lasting this long, frankly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, then let's wind it up there. So bye from me.
Bye.
And one last question. Is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to